Family ate only one bucket of instant noodles for 3 days to save money, but the mom took a big bite and half of the noodles were gone. Then the youngest son took 2 bites and the noodles were gone. But when it was his sister's turn, there was only soup left in the bucket. Dad pretended to say he didn't like soup, but my sister drained it all in one gulp. Luckily, her daughter was so sweet that she still left a noodle in the bucket. And in the end, Dad just ate the air and licked the salty taste left in the corner of his mouth, imagining that he had eaten a big meal. However, the family's highest level of saving money is to go to the public restroom every day to take a shower. And even the free toilet paper in the restroom also want to pack a couple of sheets. The only reason they are so frugal is because their father owes $2 million. They had to enter a money-saving contest where the 2 families of 4 who spent the least amount of money, $400 in 7 days, would win a prize of $5 million. And this was their only chance to turn around. But on the first day of their stay in the money-saving house, the 2 families unanimously chose to sleep. After all, everything here costs money. Even flushing the toilet costs $5. But during the day, the Carters were able to get by. But at night, the cleaner mom paid $5 for a shower, and her brother was so hungry he ate a bowl of noodles. But when their rivals, the Davids, were faced with hunger, they all tightened their belts 2 sizes and went back to sleep with their eyes closed. By the end of the first day, the Davids were in the lead. But the next day, the Carters were so hungry, they had to go to the grocery store to try out the food. Dad pointed to the steak and insisted on helping the waiter try the steak to see if it was done. He ate half of the steak and saved half for his son. However, while he was eating, he complained that the meat was too fatty and asked the waiter to bring him a new steak. But Mom also smelled the aroma came and pulled out the pork chop that Dad had not yet swallowed. But she tasted a couple of bites and did not like the taste, and then directly grabbed the grilled shrimp and put it in her mouth. However, after the food, they also want to rub cosmetics, eyebrows, blush, lipstick, makeup, etc. When it was time to check out, she pretended to be in a hurry and fled without looking back. But even though she didn't spend a penny on food and drink, the next day the Carters still lost. After all, David's family didn't leave their bed for 2 days and the show's budget of $400 was always on David's pillow. But then David rolled over and blew away $100. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. But the Carters were so happy to win that they decided to celebrate with a big dinner. There was a restaurant that offered a chicken for $1 and they rushed in and ordered one for each of them. But they got caught in a trap and couldn't get away with it. And they were dumbfounded. It was not a chicken. It was a pot of chili with only a few pieces of chicken inside. But they had been hungry for a long time and could not care less. So they just ate it. My brother's mouth turned into a sausage and my father was sweating before he ate a few bites and shouted for the check. Who knows? The merchant took out a sign saying that there is a fine of 5 yuan for every gram wasted. Mom quickly told everyone to continue to eat to death, cannot spend a penny, but she just wanted to order a bottle of water to relieve the spicy. A bottle of mineral water is even 30 yuan. Looks like they're going to die here today. The business is using the $1 chicken trick to get customers to buy water. This is a disaster for the Carter family. However, it was hard to eat all. The dad finally raised his hand in tears to check out when the merchant took advantage of the situation and brought a weighing machine because the leftover soup should also be counted as weight. The family had no choice but to raise their pots and drink the chili soup. Mom was the first to finish her soup and rushed to the toilet to get some tap water to quench her thirst. But there was no water in the toilet and the merchant was afraid that the customers would steal it. But while Mom was in the toilet, the remaining 3 people poured all the chili water into her pot. When Mom came back again, the 3 of them just gave an explanation and left without looking back. Looked at a pot full of Mom can only swallow the saliva. Spend money is impossible to spend money. She picked up the pot and again a drink. In the end, with tears in her eyes, she only spent $4, but as soon as they left the house, they ran into the public restroom at a 100-meter sprint, and the family immediately drank water and rinsed their mouths. But coincidentally, they didn't spend any money on the meal and Mom met a robber in the toilet who took all her money. But they're in a money-saving contest, $400 for 7 days. And the 2 families who spend the least will win $5 million. The rival family is already celebrating. After all, the Carters have lost a lot of money. In order to save money, the family had to go to bed again. For the next few days, the Tianhua family was going to go without food and drink. But my sister was struck by gastroenteritis and rolled around in pain. Mom told her to hang in there. After all, if she went to the hospital, she'd probably lose the game altogether. But Dad insisted on going to the money is not there can still earn. The family is the most important. Father without saying carry his daughter to the hospital run. After some treatment they only have $5 left, but there are still 2 days to go. They were about to lose the game. But when she looked at the vending machine, she thought of a way out. For 3 days and bought only 1 bag of cookies to save money. He carefully tore open the bag and broke half of the cookies and handed them to his parents for fear that they would crumble on the table. Then his mom broke half of the cookies and handed them to his dad while he and his sister shared the other half. David chewed and sipped the remains of his fingers. But when his sister tried to take another one, he put it away. For the next 4 days, when Dad heard that, he ate all the crumbs. Then the family tightened their belts again, so they could survive the next 4 days. But the Carters were the losers. And in 4 days, they were down to $50 out of the $400 that the show had budgeted. David's family was so happy that they decided to celebrate. So David bought 2 buckets of instant noodles and opened a bottle of drinks. But not long after they were happy, Carter thought of a way to win the contest. She realized that the instant noodles sold in the money-saving house were much cheaper than outside. So Carter found a construction site and sold them everything in the vending machine. But business was booming and the vending machine was quickly sold out. Carter had to go to David to buy the goods inside the vending machine with him. David thought he had taken advantage of a great bargain but sold all the goods to Carter, but realized that he had been cheated, obviously regretted too late. But on the seventh day, Carter's family, who had been trailing behind, was tied with them. With $200 left, the show had to add a race to get the two families back to the station from the money-saving house, and the one who spent the least amount of money would win. At the word of command, they set off. Instead, the two families swapped daughters on the bus to keep an eye on each other. But Carter was set up when David's parents suddenly got off the bus 2 stops from the end of the line, and they told the driver they'd pay later. Carter thought it was David who was going to pay, but when he got to the end of the bus, David said that the 2 old men were Carter's parents, and then he jumped off the bus without looking back. Carter was left with no choice but to pay the bill. But the oversight left David's family with $186.50 and Carter's family with $182. And David's family won the game by a slim margin of $450. Mom started complaining about Carter's carelessness, but then Carter looked in his pocket and found the $5 he'd left out. And the Carters won the game by a whopping $5. But while they were happy, a woman appeared out of nowhere. She was Carter's mother. And the woman in the contest was just a co-worker that her father had thrown together for the prize money. But the show doesn't tolerate cheating, and the Carter family is disqualified for cheating, while the David family wins the contest all over again. The Carters lost, but as long as the family stays together, there's nothing they can't do. After all, it's not a good way to save money on food and drink. The Carters got back on their feet and opened a fried chicken restaurant to pay off all of their father's debts, and perhaps the most important thing for them was to be happy together as a family.